Hi, I'm Benny Pough, founder, CEO of Diverse Media.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have Benny Pough of Diverse Media. A lot of folks in his press release might say, wait, that name sounds familiar. Did I see it in the credits? He was part of and ran Rock Nation Music, the music department. We want to make sure that's clear so we don't have Dame Jay come and say, hey, he did this, he did that. But right now, what he's doing with his own platform is the now and the present. And that's what we're going to really focus on. So, Benny, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. And yourself, Kellen?
Man, all is beautiful. All is beautiful. And man, let's just talk about it because we just off air, we started to get into it. You have your own label, but for those who want to say, man, Rock Nation, I didn't see him on an album. Where's his, big chain? Can you talk about how you got into music? Because were you just one of the lucky ones or did you put in some hard work?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. My journey actually started during college. Attended St. John's University. And during my time there and graduating, I also did comedy, which was actually my entry point into music. The local promoter for Motown Records, she booked me for a show at this place called the Cellar. And at the end of the show, she asked me what I was doing. I hadn't planned my resume, put my resume together. She asked, would you like to come down and intern for me? And at that point, I was like, yeah, why not? So I went down to Motown Records and realized, like, prior to that, I had a very extensive background in sales. So I sold cutlery door to door. I sold fax machines. I worked for Citibank, sold their financial products, and also drove limousines and a host of other different jobs while I was in college. So when I went to Motown, for me, the uniform that I was used to was for interviews was a three-piece suit, anti-shake case, and wingtips. So when I walked into Motown at that point, realizing music is a different animal, different culture, everybody looked at me like, is he the FBI? Right? Because it's a very relaxed and casual environment. But me, once again, being prepared for the opportunity or preparing for the opportunity, I prepared to get the job. And that's why, I decided to wear the uniform that I knew best. So once I got into Motown, realizing that the opportunity to be in the music business was very special, the woman who brought me in at that point assigned me to doing her expenses. And at that point, I never knew what expenses were. So I was correlating, the receipts, doing the account receivables and all of those things, and asked her very sheepishly, because I got embarrassed putting all these checks together in huge amounts of money coming in, that I didn't feel comfortable knowing what she made. And she said, no, honey, this isn't my paycheck. This is my expense. And I was like, wow, what's an expense? And she said, well, all the food that I eat, all of the drinks that I have, the airline tickets, the train tickets, my car note, my insurance, my cell bill, my cable bill, the record label pays for me. And I was like, wow, really? And at that point is when I fell in love with the business of music.
Well, the business of music. Now, that's the part that artists still are, they're just getting. Since you have done music, for over a decade, we say 2 decades, right? I always say let's round up because we about to go into that. Um, how is it that the artist education, a lot of folks think the labels rob the artist, but is it not up for the artist to have education and to make those moves, especially, you're more adult artist, you are behind the scenes, and I'm sure you're one of the people sometimes would point fingers at, but can you talk about the business of music and what young musicians at 14 need to know that some of their older counterparts at 44 haven't received?
So the best way to answer that, and there's multiple ways of receiving it, is it's business as a whole. Just once you understand business, any nuanced business that you go into is a different flavor, right? Like Baskin Robbins, they make ice cream, but there are different flavors in there. But the basis of making ice cream, sugar, cream, that's consistent. So if you're applying for any business or going into any business, you need to learn the nuances and mechanisms that makes that business work. And if you don't arm and prepare yourself, there'll be shortcomings that will happen regardless if it's music, regardless if it's tech, regardless if it's engineering, regardless if it's medicine, etc. So what's happened along the way with technology has actually made it more transparent for anyone entering into the music business to have a better understanding, because there's a direct connection with the consumer. There's a direct connection with the distributor. Before years past, you would only be able to sell your music by going through one of the chain stores. You can actually go to the store and upload your music and sell to a consumer yourself, right? If you take the time to do the research and figure out how to do those things, which isn't that complex. So in answering your question, it is up to the individual to become a student of the business that they choose to be in, so that they can make the best informed decisions or ask the appropriate questions that are going to help maneuver them through the success that they want to ultimately gain.
And with that knowledge, are there any books that you like, or maybe there's a consulting package, or maybe that's why you've created the label, so you can take those who you feel like sewing into and say, let me take you under my umbrella. But any research that you can give folks and before they contact you that they need to have to be successful in this business, please share.
So the 101 book is everything you need to know about the music business. Two, you should have an IQ, as I said, in business, or in this particular business, the music business, Billboard, trade magazines, right? You can just Google contracts. You can Google royalties. You can Google, what's a fair deal. You can Google, top 5 stylists in public. These are just information that's readily available at your fingertips to get yourself immersed. Also, too, what's important is developing a team. And ultimately, how do you do that? As an artist, you are now the CEO of your corporation or of yourself. So in doing so, what's the first steps? Probably contacting a good attorney, also, as well as looking at someone who has knowledge of finances and the accounting source of such. And then at that point, looking out from the creative aspect on creating your art and actually pulling it all together to make yourself commercial and viable.
Okay, I love that team. So Benny, you don't know this, but I'm a consultant. I'm a publicist. Whatever I play whatever position, but I handle money. And folks sometimes ask me, "Why are you so expensive?" I say because I'm gonna be a crucial member of your team, and these are people who have the means, of course. Can you tell them what they should look for? Because if I say it, I'm biased, right? What should they look for in receiving that lawyer, that CPA, that business manager, their publicist? What are some of the things that you think that those people all need to have?
uh First, competency, right? It sounds, it sounds very rudimentary, but it's important. So if you're going to negotiate a deal with a record label or a distributor or a production company, your lawyer shouldn't be concentrated in textiles, right? You want somebody who's actually in that business, knows how, an attorney that's in that business knows how the business works, know all the trappings, understand how the landscape works, and also has relationships and connections to develop and grow and build. All right. You don't want somebody who's relationship less, which may happen, but have no aptitude to understanding on how the business actually works. And that applies as well in the financial sector as well, in dealing with with the music industry, having someone who understands how royalties work, right? How the mechanicals work, how, in essence, how you truly get paid.
Okay. And so with this new label that you've created, and it's also a distribution arm, and if for folks who say, well, doesn't every label have a distribution arm? No, that's, so their distribution was its own thing. You guys remember Selecto Hits? Shout out to them back in the day, if you can go back that far. But can you talk about why your new label is, going to be different?
I'm super excited about it is because we give the artists the freedom to maintain their masters. I also have an artist that's signed directly to Diverse, which we're launching this summer. Her name is Paris Gatlin, an amazing artist from Jackson, Mississippi. She's someone to watch out for, and she has an incredible voice, not seen in decades, to be quite honest with you, and a unique style and flair about her artistry and her music. We have some important Grammy Award producers that are going to be working on it, and we are now curating it. So what gives someone an opportunity to come in with me, and as opposed to going to a major, is you get the opportunity to talk to me directly. You get the opportunity of my Rolodex to help you. You get the opportunity of me making calls for you. I'm not just an uploading a funnel, which we do offer that, and licensing deals. But if you are very special in particular, I will invest in your career myself. And obviously, just like I stated earlier, we can determine what the business is going to be like, favorable for all.
I love it. I love it. Now, with the label and the distribution, and you said something that was key. Want to make sure folks caught that, because most people are listeners to this. We shoot for your visual, but the thousands and thousands are listeners. Majority owning your masters, that's like a bank saying we're going to give you a loan and not charge you interest. So how do you make that work, and why did you decide to do that?
Well, it's important. Think of the masters, the value of the masters, if the masters have value, because I think a lot of people get caught up in owning your masters, but if you can't exploit the master, it really has no value, right? It's just like owning a house worth $10 million, but you can never sell it, right? If there's no audience for people, just because you state a value on it. So ultimately, a lot of it is contingent on betting on yourself. If you feel that, guess what? The upside for me for owning my masters is because one, I know how the business works. Two, I can market and brand myself. Three, I can bankroll this until the cows come home. Then you might not be a person for a label, and owning your entire entity is very valuable to you. But if you're someone who needs help from one aspect or another, because you're a novice, or guess what, you may not have gone to the level you thought you were during being in a past relationship, at a past situation, that why not share in on the profits with someone who's going to help and give you the exploitation to make you a star. So individuals have to make the best decisions for them, and not just get caught up into, because I heard so-and-so retained their masters and so-and-so didn't retain their masters, that, and you don't know what's truth and fiction, right? Like, you don't know what's fiction and nonfiction in the middle, because no one actually throws up their paperwork of what their deal and their structures are. So I think we take the conversation all the way back to, once again, be informed, be educated, take the time to learn this business, because it's a business that can be fruitful and rewarding if you take the time to learn.
Definitely. And when you talk about, masters, he was being nice about it. I tell you guys, because we talk to, all type of creatives, and the recent plug is, hey, can you take my music or my art and make it like an NFT? I said, but who cares about your art? Like, who cares about your masters if you're not even registered on If you're not hitting somewhere, who cares about owning your masters? You own nothing.
Thing,
Uh,
correct.
yeah, I'll trade you an NFT for your masters if you guys ever want to swap and want to, give it up. But I love that. Now, on your website, and you guys links are in the description no matter where you're listening or watching, you have some tools for them in case someone says, well, I want to learn more. Tell them what On Impact is, and if they pre-order, what they can learn from buying that.
So On Impact is my first book that I'm releasing, and Impact stands for an acronym: is intuition, mastery, pivot, authenticity, communication, and teamwork. And it's an inspiration, motivational business book that brings you through my journey at 11 years old to now being on the Kellen show, right? And how did I come to this? I was in a near-death car accident, 8/31/2014, where I hit a tree at 90 miles an hour, and I sustained injuries to my body from a massive concussion, L3L4 vertebrae fracture, bulging disc in my back, bled bled out half the blood in my body, lacerated my liver, and we hit the tree so hard that it severed 2 feet of my small intestine, and from that came a book that was born, On Impact. So it takes you through my journey, and each chapter gives the reader an opportunity to see how in controversy as well as in success, how I've done it. And if I can do it, you can do it too.
So I want some of y'all to rewind that part back, go about 30 seconds back, because I find that a lot of times, especially when people get around 25 and up, they start trying to discredit somebody, or that person made it because they're lucky. But the fact that you have had so much, from selling knives to, running labels and being part of such greatness, and then to have that happen and then to bounce back, like you look good, healthy, like you're ready to go play some tennis right now. And so God, he's good, and everything isn't negative. Like, this is one of those good stories where if you would have died and somebody telling your story, it might get more sensationalism, former rock nation, this and that, and it's like, but that you have a testimony and you can really talk and preach and teach about it. Folks are like, well, they try to then discredit it. So how long did it take you to bounce back, and what was going through your mind during that recovery?
So it was interesting. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I had to actually learning how to walk again, right? Just the mechanics of movement, it shows a lot. But what I realized and what I didn't say, and let me go back a second, when that was presented, when I actually saw the moment happening between when we left my friend's house to the impact of the tree, is why the book is titled On Impact. I spent probably like 3 minutes in a car without a driver because my friend was out conscious. So through my mind at this point, I realized there was three things that were viable. The first thing that I've always been taught is to speak to God. So when you realize, the first thing I said to him was, God, I guess I'm not going to see my family anymore, because I'd seen everyone in my family in the last week, from my mom, my sister, my dad. My mother has Alzheimer's. My sister's my only sibling, my sons, my daughters, and realized like that moment is now real. Second thing was, you deal with your mortality, and I realized that, you know what, God, I guess I'm going to see you soon, because you start thinking about how it ends, because I'm in the moment, I'm watching this happen, and it's cars racing. Third thing, I got angry with God, because had I known at that moment I was going to die, I wouldn't have went to the cookout, right? Needless to say, right? If you know what's going to happen, I'm good that day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, but I got angry with God, and I realized that there were so many things left in my life that I hadn't done, and so many things that I need to do different. So coming out of the accident itself, and the pain, and in the crash, and the physical and the mental on the recovery road, was principles that I live by, right? Never going to go to bed angry, never going to hold anything against anybody, us as they say, right? And for the most part, dedicate my time to my God, my family, my friends, and all those that I can help along the way. In the recovery process, from the physical aspect, it became challenging, realizing that I wasn't the person that I used to be, but that person actually died in that tree and was reborn. So
Mm.
I don't look at what was, I look at what is and what's going to be, right? Because if it was, you're not going to miss anything that's for you. And obviously it wasn't for me to die that day. The purpose of me living, we're now going to understand as we see as I live moving forward.
Now, here's a question nobody else will ask you. I guarantee.
Okay.
But I want to know before that, had you repented and were you living in a place where if you would have died, you could have said, you know what, I'm confident. I'm gonna make my father proud and get that, pat on the back and be entered into the gates. Were you already there, or did you say, you know what, I gotta also get some repentance and make sure these relationships are right before I go because of this impact?
I'm a believer.
Mm.
I'm a Christian. My life is definitely work in progress. I don't want you to look at me and go, you know what? Aha! I saw Benny with a drink. Yo, right? Yo, so now I got a drink, right? Yeah, I don't want that, right? Right? Obviously, the walk with Christ is important, and him holding my hand as I'm holding his back, and him helping me get through all the challenges in my life is what I live then and amplify now, right? So, and more importantly, for me, at that point, I did repent. So because I had an opportunity to repent. It wasn't like instantaneously. I saw it happening, unfolding as that moment was creating. So, as I said earlier, my discipline is first. And that's what discipline is important, because that kicks in. What you practice every day will sustain you every day and beyond for the rest of your life, because now is habit. So, given the opportunity, yes, that was the first thing. As in the conversation I said to you, I spoke to God. That was the first thing I did, realizing I'm going to die. Right?
Yeah. I just want people to like even think in their own life. People always say, oh yeah, I'm ready, especially when you're in the church house. But when you are really put in a position where like, could I have done better? We all say we could do better, but I've met few
I want to
people.
say that though. I don't want to
Yeah,
interrupt you. Yes,
yeah,
I can do better.
yeah,
I'm broken like everyone else trying to heal.
yeah,
So it's not about this perfect person emulance of anything, man. I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm building, even at this age, right? There's so much more to learn and so much more to grow that I want to get all of it, right? So
yeah.
now I have an opportunity to do what? Thank you for bringing me to your show. Pass it on. So as I heal as a man, as a father, as a friend, right? And as I develop and grow, there's benefits with that, because now I walk and talk differently, act differently, teach differently, preach differently, right? And be a part of conversations differently because I understand.
I love it. I love it. When he says this age, I know you guys are saying, but he's only 31. He just started. Yeah, the black don't crack if you take care of it. So I love that. Now, with the success that you have had in the former life and in the new life, in the rebirth, what is a community give back that you are doing or that you want to do in the future?
So I'm a part of the Prison Fellowship board, which is the largest board and foundation in the country for second offenders. So, we're an organization that is Christian based, and we are preach, the word of Jesus in in the prisons, as well as supply education, Bibles, mentoringship. All of those organizations. It's amazing. Prisonfellowship.com. Anybody can go and contribute and help in 50 states in the continental U.S. So that's one aspect. I have my own mentoring program, which I have close to like 10 or 12 individuals that I mentor weekly on helping them move forward, that range in various different businesses and backgrounds, from doctors to professional executives, to college students, to just kids that need help as well. I'm also on a board that we are being that I'm a part of, that looking at developing schools for Ethiopian girls, to give them the help and opportunities to move past just a restricted life and organization, as things are laid out for them.
I love it. I love it. And you said a key word, Ethiopia. So yes, Ethiopia. Salam and Amasaganalo to you, Benny, for helping out Ethiopia, and really putting it down. Does your Afro beats is a big thing. Music, African music has always been a big thing for those of us who've known. Do you have any plans or any African artists signed or to expand over there to the continent, since it's the now and the future?
Not at this point. It's always been exciting to me and intriguing to me to touch the continent. I went in 2018 and went to Lagos, and it was the first time ever touching down, and the glory and the spirituality and the difference, man, both in the beauty of what it is, and also the despair of what it is, right? Like, you can't glorify it without dealing with it either, right? Because when you go and you see the extreme wealth, but then you see like diseases that are eradicated everywhere else, that's still a prominent there, that there's a lot of work, and there's a big dichotomy between how people live on the continent, right, versus anywhere else in the world. So it's important for me moving forward in the music aspect, and was super excited about getting there and seeing the richness of it. Is one, to build properly, right? It's about having a foundation first. So as I grow and develop here, outreach and connections around the globe are very important to me.
Okay, and what made you go to Nigeria and go enjoy that soya, or suya, as you Nigerians say? Cameroonians say soya, but yeah, what made you take that jump?
When I was at my last job, I was thinking about how we move the company into a global perspective, and as being an African American led company, it's like, let's just go see what it was. So it was an exploratory thing that reaped a lot of benefits for all of us. Out of that came, I don't know if you know Casanova.
Yeah.
Yeah, Casanova, his video was actually shot in Nigeria. He's probably the first rapper ever in the history of rap to have two live hyenas in his video, right? In Africa, right? Just period. So it's it definitely sparked a lot of interest and creativity, and just to see the dynamic of what's untapped on the continent.
Okay, and for those of you who are gonna say, "You're killing," why didn't you tell him? Relax. He said rappers, and we're gonna put American rappers on that. I know you guys are gonna come out with some, legendary artists like Petty Payee or Brenda Fossey and tell me, but remember when she did it first, Kellen? It's on VHS. I'm the only one who has a copy on VCD. I get it, but that's a big deal that now we're just connecting
Thing.
that
Yeah.
the yeah, I love it. I love it. how can people, I don't want to say reach out to you, but if they say, you know what, I pre-ordered the book, I want to pitch my music, or I want to join that mentorship that you said, and I want to apply, because he's not taking everybody, people. It might be invite only, but how can they reach out if they have a good product?
Always respond on my website, bennypough.com, or you can send me an email at diverse-media.com, and we'll that's my official website, and we'll get it moving.
Man, you guys have got the game. Anymore, you're gonna have to, hit them up, contact them, because I'm going to take the conversation. Yeah. Get the book. Get the book. Is it already ready for Amazon, or is it just pre-order on your site at this point?
Pre-order on my site now. We'll be releasing late winter, early top of 2022.
Awesome. Well, you guys know where you heard it first. Taking that conversation offline.